Hello everyone, we have the pleasure to announce the release of CAD Builder version 1.5.3. Let's see what's new. We will begin with the design interface. Click on empty space in the plan view and you will see a comment button. Select it, click the location, and type in the text. Click add and the comment box will appear directly in the design without having to edit it through the drawings. You may then click on its leader line to attach it onto an object or onto a wall, or select the box itself to change the text, its appearance, or to reset the header and the box's attributes. You can do the same within the elevation view, so if you go within a wall segment, place down a comment, attach the line, or select the box and remove it and use at will. Click once again on empty space to see the new dimensions section. The dimensions and cabinet label attributes have been replaced with customizable profiles, which can be set within the profile dropdown. This allows you to quickly switch between the dimension styles and labeling depth as needed. You are given 5 predefined dimension profiles, although you can edit them or create new ones at will. To view or change these profiles, you go to the application settings, look to the dimensions subsection, and select the profile you want to change, and then click Edit Profile. Select an item on the left to change its properties on the right. So for instance, if I select any of the dimension styles, I can change the font size, font color, font family, or other dimension line properties, and this will apply to all dimension lines. I can also enable or disable the type of dimensions that appear on the walls by just checking or unchecking the boxes. For the basic profile, I'll just keep the base, wall, and tall, and no other items. Here's also where you can enable the cabinet opening sizes or the front sizes, which would of course appear in the elevation views, though I'll keep those disabled for now. And at the bottom, you can enable or disable the size of the cabinet, the overall size label, the grain matching group number label, or the actual cabinet name or label. And here's also a new functionality. If you go to the label setup, you can type in the formula that CAD Builder will use to automatically name your products once you bring them into the design. So for instance, right now I have it set to be the cabinet SKU and cabinet number variables. And these variables, these controls, they follow very much what you would do in the optimization label settings, in that you can have some constant characters, or you can have variables that change from cabinet to cabinet. For instance, if I want for my basic profile to just say maybe the cabinet number, then I type in an opening brace, which is the parenthesis on the keyboard that looks like has a point in the middle. And this brings up a list of variables that I can use. And I'll use the cabinet number, so I double click on this variable and it will fill it in for me. If that's all I want, and I just click apply. And that will make the change in my profile. So now it will be just 1, 2, and every other new cabinet I bring in, we'll just have the number 3, 4, so on and so forth. Another change in the design module is the ability to place static dimensions. So when you use those user dimensions at the bottom, and you would typically select 2 different objects, let's say from this endpoint to this endpoint, this then brings up this dimension line that you can then use to move the initial object relative to the anchor. But if both endpoints are set on a single object, be it a countertop, a cabinet, an appliance, whatever it may be, then the line will convert to be a static mark, basically a comment on the dimension, right? So you cannot change it, but you can move it around, and once again, it's just another addition to the annotations directly in the design, as opposed to having to drop them in the drawings and then edit them within that section. Heading down to the material management and materials submodule, you'll notice there is a new group called grass hardware. So these are pre-built hinges and hinge plates for the for grass manufacturer. So if you use these in your cabinetry, you can just set them straight into your material assignment without having to create the specs from scratch. The materials menu also has a new pre-made group called drawer connectors. And what these are the first phase of the metal drawer box capabilities within Cap Builder, and they're connectors that can be applied directly to a drawer box within the wireframe editor. For example, if you select a drawer box here in the wireframe on the left, you'll notice within its attributes you have a drawer front connector and drawer rear connector selection screen. And let's say if I apply my drawer rear connector with this DZ63W, and do the same for my front, DZ63W front connector, and I turn on show processing, we can see the holes are being created for our metal drawer box connectors. This is the first phase where you have to manually attach these to a drawer box, so you can send them to your CNC for the pre-drilling pattern. The next phase will allow for an automatic selection of these materials and metal drawer box sides. While we are still within the wireframe editor, if you select a part, let's say if I select the side, you'll notice that you can assign the grain direction, or rather override it, directly within this menu. For either horizontal, vertical, and now a new assignment called Material Efficient Grain. Now, of course, these are overrides. You set the default back in the construction method. And by material efficient grain, what this will do is it will take the part and allow it to be rotated by the optimizer, even if it is nested onto grained material. So for example, let's say you have your sides with vertical grain direction. You always need them to be vertical, but maybe the top stretcher of your base cabinet can be rotated. It doesn't really matter the grain rotation, or maybe the back of your base cabinets. You can go to that part. Let's go to the top stretchers and tell it that the grain direction is material efficient grain, and then Cap Builder will rotate it for the best material efficiency. So do this for parts whose grain does not matter, and they'll be nested, rotated at will, while still keeping the other parts of the same material according to the grain direction. While on the topic of optimization, let's look at the rough cutting capability. If you're a CNC user, you can go to your toolset, to your toolset settings, and select a default rough cutout tool. And I will select one of the cutout bits to be used for the rough pass prior to the final finishing pass of whatever cutout bit you're going to be using. Now, that is determined, the depth at which that roughing pass is done, and the offset from the edge is set within the parts, the tool bit's attributes, specifically the onion skin thickness. Whatever that value is, that will be subtracted from the material thickness to determine the rough cut depth, and the onion skin offset, which again will be offset from the edge of the part to the outer edge of that roughing pass. So for instance, if I say my 1/4 inch down cut is going to have an onion skin offset of 0.0625, and I tell it that it's going to leave, let's say, 1/8 of an inch left for my roughing pass, and I set this as my 1/4 inch down cut rough cutout tool, then Cap Builder will first send that 1/4 inch down cut at that depth and that offset, and then the 3/8 compression will complete the cut with the final finishing pass. Let's return to the cabinet wireframe editor to check the two biggest new functions related to cabinet editing, the first of which is found within the cabinet's general attributes. If you click on Edit Cabinet Perimeter, you can edit the outside perimeter shape of the product. This menu has the same overall controls as the other shape editors, so much of it should be familiar. The goal is to draw out a closed shape, with each segment being labeled for the part type that it's representing, and each segment should also, of course, not have any floating endpoints. The printer must also have at least one front and at least one back segment, and that back segment must be a wall-mounted back. So the software will know how to snap the cabinet when it goes into the front zone of a wall. For example, let's say I'm trying to take this 30-inch wide cabinet, and have it fill in this otherwise dead space corner. How would I go about this? Well, I would need to go within the cabinet and edit its perimeter to have the back left edge extend out, looks like another 24 inches this way. Now I can either do that by creating the perimeter from scratch, or I can edit the existing shape. I prefer just editing the existing shapes. So either way, we'll go to the cabinet wireframe editor, edit cabinet perimeter, and this is the front edge, this is right edge, left, and back. Now I just need to take this back left corner and shift it to the left 24 inches. I'll do this by selecting the left segment. And looking to the coordinates of that left point, which would be, let's see, the start endpoint will be 0, 0. That's this endpoint here. Endpoint is 0, 24. So I'll just subtract 24 from that x coordinate, making the shape that I'm looking for. Again, I don't need to draw anything else new, but I could absolutely do so from scratch by drawing line segments or drawing shapes from scratch. Either way, at the end of the process, I need to have a singular closed shape with at least one front and one back. So when I click OK, this will edit my overall cabinet dimensions as well as the cabinet shape. And if I save this cabinet, I can see I can get the correct shape here, and then I'll just move it to be all the way to the left edge of the wall. And the result is a cabinet that fits quite snugly within this acute angle corner. The other major new function is the side profile editor. So you start with a standard cabinet shape, one whose perimeter has not been edited. You go to one of the sides, I'll go with the left side, and in the attributes, you click on Edit Side Shape. This opens a side view of the cabinet and allows you to segment and mold the front or backs into the shape that you need. And you can either select, again, the front or the back and then split them into additional segments, set their coordinates, or change the part type. Now, for example, let's say I'm looking for a bar top cabinet with a raised back, let's say about 6 inches from the standard height, for a top countertop portion, and then the bottom section will host the rest of the countertop and will be what will be the otherwise normal top of the cabinet. The first step is to change the dimensions, is specifically the height for this one, to the overall height that I need it to be. So I'll set this to 40.5. Then I go back to the side profile editor and start segmenting either the front or the back or a combination of the two. In this case, I will segment the front edges. I need one additional segment to go here and one additional segment to go there. And then this will be the original top of the cabinet. So since I need 2 additional segments, I'll split the front 2 times. Split side, split side. And you can see now I have 1 front, 2 fronts, 3 fronts. Now these 2 will be those 2 segments. I don't need them to be fronts. I need them to be just front-facing plain pieces of material. So I'll first set the type of this one to be front-facing panel. And this one will also be a front-facing panel. And now I select these segments and edit their coordinates to put them in the appropriate place. So again, I'm looking for, let's say, about 6 inches this way and 6 inches down. This means that this first segment coordinate would be 6 for the X. And the bottom Y coordinate will be the 40.5 height minus the 6-inch segment. And then moving on to the next segment, I will have its Y coordinate match on both endpoints. And from there, the normal front just drops straight down. So I have segment 1, segment 2, and there's my normal front. And if we look at the result within the wireframe editor, I have what I was looking for. So again, a top bar countertop, and then we'll have this be the other piece. Once I hit save, the cabinet profile will be locked in. Now this utility allows for a wide range of non-standard cabinets to be made, including ADA sync cabinets. We have added 2 such pre-built cabinets in the starter catalog, so if you have an existing library, you can just select it, click Edit Catalog, go to the Add Products and select the catalog starter, and it'll be under Sync Base, ADA Sync cabinet. So you can bring in either the whole category or bring it in one product at a time. And then you can either use it or edit it to match what you would normally do. As always, you can view our release notes on our website at cabbuildersoftware.com/release notes for a full list of changes. Thank you, and we will see you in the next video.